never give up. I never give up. I never give up.
Hi guys, welcome back to Neff Inspiration, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stephan Neff. Today is a cool day because I've got Kristof Morrow with me. Kristof is a man, is a journalist, an author, and a man who has reinvented himself over the years quite a bit. And he has gone through a lot of shit earlier in his life, and then just so the gods thought, well, what else can we throw at him? Maybe a new challenge, I mean, it happens to me. It seems like every other half a year, something new comes. And Kristof, you are not much different. But I mean, for crying out loud. So, Kristof, first of all, welcome to my show.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you so much. I appreciate you bringing me on. That was really kind of you.
No, absolutely. And Kristof, you are for those of us who are on the video, you can see the behavior and the grimacing that Kristof is doing. When you're in the podcast, you can't see that, of course. But Kristof, there are some tics and there are some changes there that we can observe, and that is basically it. I let the rabbit out of the I don't know what the saying is. Let the rabbit out. You have got Tourette syndrome. Kristof, what a bitch. And is that, see, yeah, no. I mean, for crying out loud, if you can swear, I can swear. So I might as well set the tone here.
No, I welcome it. I knew.
Well, Kristof, is there? Tell us when was the first time that you became aware that something is not right with Tourette's?
Well, specifically with Tourette's, it wasn't until I was 26, and I had some idea when I went to a physician, and I disclosed that I had experiencing my stomach muscles would tighten, and I would make a grunting noise, and this would occur every day, several times a day, and it would happen when I would ruminate. Amongst in times when I when nothing was happening and I couldn't still control it, but it really truly, in retrospect, I realized that it first manifested when I was 19 and I was in the U.S. Navy. So then it actually ended up causing me to get honorably discharged because of that. I was no longer deployable. I was a Navy corpsman, which is a medic. General.
Bloody hell. And what was the first time, the very first sensation or the very first thing you remember? When did these involuntary contractions of your tummy muscle, when did they start?
The stomach muscles, the tightening of those contractions didn't start until I was 26, right?
Oh, right. Okay.
But in the military, I've seen people help me compare it to something akin to a seizure. They have that sort of premonition that something is wrong, but you don't know what it is. It was exactly like that. It was no different. I felt like something was wrong, and then I went to go be by myself because I didn't know what was going on, and that's when it sort of it suddenly started.
Oh, bloody hell. Now, Tourette's is one of these things you typically people make fun of it, and it sort of is thrown into the kind of cliches. But what really is Tourette's? I mean, if you had to learn a lot about it, how would you describe it to a friend, and how would you?
Well, I would describe the sensation of the moment where you know that a tic is about to occur. It feels exactly like when you know something's about to fall off the counter and you catch it in the corner of your eye. Yeah. And you go, and you have that split second where you can, your reflexes matter. But after a certain point, they don't. And you end up, I can't really use my right hand because I can't grab things anymore because I've injured it because of Tourette's. I punched it on something, and this is every day. I do this several dozen times a day. But now that I've injured, I can't really do anything with it, and I have to do everything one-handed generally. So it's quite frustrating.
So it's not just, so it's basically a compulsive behavior. So it includes the facial muscles in your case. So there's sort of tics and grimacing, but there's also more gross motor movements. So for example, you feeling to punch something. When you say you punch something, is that something out of frustration? Or
No,
is it
it's totally
actually
involuntary?
That's what I thought. That's
Yeah, so
exactly.
yeah. I lose agency completely. And I sort of when I'm having a tic, it's kind of like I check out mentally.
Yeah.
I don't really know what's going on, and I'm at my brains, my deformed brains, mercy. And so it's essentially the brain's inability to regulate. People have those intrusive thoughts that you can resist, and you can go, well, imagine if those came to life every time they came through your head. Like you had you would think of something would happen, and you would perform that action, and you couldn't stop yourself. That's what it is.
Right.
It's very similar to that.
There's often this kind of classic perception there that you would swear and curse and say inappropriate things. Is that actually true? Does it hold true for you?
It actually is true for me. The trouble is that like you said earlier, tics they do manifest symptomatically, like through the gross motor movements, like you said. Those change though. They do like so. For example, for a while I had a tic where I was clenching my teeth. I had to go to the hospital because I was going to break my own teeth.
Ouch.
So I had to wear like a mouth guard.
Yeah.
I had a tic for about 3 days where I was stomping my foot, and I almost had to like just sit in a wheelchair because I can't walk anymore because I was stomping my foot on the ground over and over again for I mean, you cannot do that. You just can't. Just can't. And so it manifests in really destructive ways sometimes, and in other ways it's very benign.
Wow. You said initially, so you had the first inkling around about 19. But having said that, you were able to actually go out there, live your life fullest. You had an honorable discharge. You were a corpsman. So in other words, medicine was in your blood already. So then the logical step was to become an EMT, which was cool. And then a dispatcher. So obviously there were times when the Tourette's was not yet, was more sort of coming in waves, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was about to say ladies first, but no, kidding. For me, the question is, it's quite an atypical manifestation of Tourette's, isn't it? It's normally something that comes earlier on in life.
Oh, absolutely.
So then the logical next question for me as a doctor is, well, actually, hang on. So what did my colleagues do with your brain? So they did probably an MRI to check out if there was anything visible there. Was there anything to be found?
So I remember the first sort of intervention that was attempted, or at least examined it, where they tried to do a spinal tap.
Yeah.
To see if I had a brain infection. That was in the Navy. And I honestly, I don't think I've had an MRI or any kind of CAT scan or anything like that, because my symptoms are quite evident. Like, like you said, like there's really, I feel like you would know this better than I would, but there would be other symptoms too that would. Because to Tourette's, actually, I discovered that my cousin actually has it too. So,
all right, cool.
Yeah, it is genetic. So,
yeah. As with everything, I mean, and that applies now for everything, for life, really. We have got a kind of genetic makeup where we have got genes that are either switched on or switched off. Some of them are very dominant, so they break through regardless. But many, many others are just lying there. And then there is an epigenetic soup that is sort of flowing over these genes. And depending upon what you mix into that soup, you will get manifestations of certain genes that are switched on and off. So therefore, I'm wondering, were there factors there that led you to suddenly develop something like that? For example, in the Navy, I can imagine that you're working with maybe not such nice materials and maybe some rather toxic things. And, if you get deployed, why don't we give you about 18 injections in each arm within 24 hours? Was there anything like that happening that maybe, with hindsight, that there's a temporary link to that?
I completely agree. I think there's plenty of evidence to substantiate that too, because when I was in the Navy, I remember going a great many hours, days, even without sleep. And I discovered actually much later, only 2 years ago or 3 years ago, that I have severe obstructive sleep apnea. And the doctor told me that I didn't get any sleep. He said that I never fell into a deep sleep the entire sleep study. And so and my entire life, people have told me that I snore like it is not manageable around other people. I was famous for it amongst my friends. So I've had this problem. So I've just never slept, I guess. And I had a great deal of, I don't know if you know this, but in the U.S. military, not showing up to work or being late to work is a criminal thing. You can be criminally, like, you go to jail for not showing. So it was I was very anxiety inducing, worrying about that, along with all the other things that I've already mentioned. And and so I feel like those symptoms, or those events, the confluence of things that I did, and other factors.
Yeah. So because, and that's the typical thing, isn't it? Because that's so important that we actually look at that. So something has occurred and is now giving you quite a major challenge. And it's clearly has impacted your career. You had to be honorably discharged, or medically discharged in this case. So it puts a spanner in the works, for crying out loud. So therefore, of course, the very first thing you sort of want to think, well, A, is the diagnosis correct? B, what the hell is it all about? And learn more. And you did that. You became the master. You knew more, well, hopefully you know more about the disease than the doctors that are treating you, because that puts
Generally, I do.
Yeah, exactly. Because that puts you in the typical driver's seat where I want my patients to be, where I want them to know, and then compare the kind of textbook medical knowledge with what their body really does. Because textbook is textbook and reality is often a bit different. So therefore, now, touche. So nowadays, that the Tourette's has become a constant partner in your life. Have you figured out that you can modify these attacks, that or the frequency and severity of the spasms or of the behavior? Have you figured out ways that make it worse, things that make it better?
There's actually a number of things that I discovered. Okay, so I grew up wearing glasses. One of my takes is that I hit myself and punch myself in the face. I'm giving myself black eyes, bloody lips. I busted my nose, all kinds of stuff. And then I hit myself in the ear, like I punch. Really, it's a lot of pain. And so now I can't remember what I was going to say actually about.
No, the factors that might improve it, or
right. So I wore glasses my entire life, and because of a lot of the abuse that I faced growing up, and because we lived in really serious abject poverty, losing my glasses or breaking my glasses, damaging them in any way, was a really serious thing. Now I realized that if I wear my glasses, I don't hit myself in the face.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. It's strange, isn't it?
When suddenly core beliefs are so powerful that they can actually protect you. Wow. Right. I didn't see that coming.
I didn't know. I noticed it. I noticed it one day, and I said, it's got to be, it's reliable. And so, yeah.
Excellent. What's the influence of your nutrition? Of let's say you get your standard American diet, 15, I don't know, hot dogs, a few hamburgers, and a lot of sugar with it. Does it make it worse?
I don't know anything about in terms of diet. I don't notice any difference.
Okay, cool. Sleep. I mean, here you are with your obstructive sleep apnea. And
Yeah.
typically you think about obstructive sleep apnea that basically people due to big body weight that they're obstructing and strangling themselves with their own fat, so to speak.
Yeah.
Which that is 90% of the patients, which is true.
That is,
You
that
are
is
not.
true, yeah.
You are not. You are not. You're a you're a good build, but you
Yeah.
just have again
A
something
big tongue.
Yeah, well, yeah,
It's a
exactly.
big tongue. It really is. It really is. I mean, that is largely it. I mean,
Yeah.
I can tell because you can. I mean, you can just tell.
Yeah, and but when are you now in control of your obstructive sleep apnea?
Oh, I have a CPAP machine.
Right, very nice. So now you sleep. You might sound like Darth Vader, but you sleep, and that's cool. That's absolutely fine. But the more important bit is how does a better sleep routine help you with the Tourette's? Did you notice any differences there?
Oh man, it's critical. It's critical, Steve. And I tell you, I actually one of the things that I've discovered, it's consistent with my disposition on this already. I don't like to sleep. I don't like sleeping. I've never liked it. I find it to be like it's strange. I just don't like it. I sleep now about 5 or 6 hours a night, and that's really all. I cannot sleep more than that. I just can't.
Talk about core beliefs. Look, if you have been dying 100 times every night because you're suffocating with your sleep apnea, I'm not surprised that you have gotten that deep in there. You say, oh shit, I so don't want to go. I hope the night is not coming soon. Interesting. See, there is so much that we can tease apart there. But I think that the reason that I go for this exercise with you is to actually to show how complex a disposition like that or a problem like that is, that it is not a cliche, that it is not something that you just say, yeah, just come on, pull yourself together, man.
Everybody goes through it. Yeah,
exactly. No. And it has a very sinister and a dark background, looking at your injuries, looking at your at those kind of things. So that is where I wanted to bring awareness out there that Tourette's is a very real thing. It's not a joke, and it is a huge challenge, as with many chronic diseases or chronic problems. But you're slowly but surely mastering it. You're slowly but surely figuring out what works, what protects you, etc.
It's so strange too. Yeah.
Oh wow! So how does that work now? I mean, you have become an author. Your first book sold 1,200 copies. That is well done, man. Well done. What is that book about? Tell us.
Well, I've always been very fond of literature. The first work of literature I remember reading was A Separate Peace by John Knowles. And I found it just very lovely. And I didn't understand why I loved it so much, but I just found it very profound. I explored that later on. When I got into the Navy, I became a writer. See, I lost my train of thought because I was trying to bridge 2 or 3 things at once.
That's my job normally. Okay,
yeah,
I lose train of thought.
That's my fault. Yeah.
No. As an author,
I get ambitious.
That's cool. As an author, you're trying to write. I mean, the simple fact of writing. Do you write by hand or do you write computer?
Oh, I write by computer.
Yeah,
I write entirely there. Go ahead.
Cool. No. For me, the question is, how much does the Tourette's actually interfere with your flow of writing, or in actual fact, is the Tourette's maybe giving you kind of writing blocks where okay, I've got actually now 2 hours probably where it's unlikely I've got an attack. Can you time it this much? And therefore it gives you no, so it just comes as it comes.
It's so random. It's chaos.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So how does it work? I mean, you're developing yourself as an author, as a journalist, yet you have got the Tourette's impacting on your life. How do you manage that?
Well, it depends on where I am. You know, publicly, it's much more difficult to manage emotionally because I'm around people that can offer me their judgment and their their ignorance. They can make it plain. But when I'm at home, I'm a lot more reflective, I think.
Mm.
And it's because I realize, I think, my responsibility in this arrangement, and that I need to impart to so many people what I go through so that they understand other people.
Mm.
You know, so that their hands can remain clean, you know, of their ignorance, of other people's ignorance. I'd like that.
Well, that's a beautiful way of putting that. I mean, how often do you get? I mean, you would expect that there's a certain recognition of that being a real disease. Have you had not such nice encounters?
Oh, it's almost invariably. Truly, like when I was working with the public in customer service and things like that,
Mm.
I was laughed at every day, said many times a day. I've seen kids record me like from their phones, like
Oh,
like because they see me
fuck
having
off.
tics. And I mean, honestly, there's just, I mean, so many situations that are not advantageous to somebody with Tourette's. I can name even places that it's quite deadly. Back in a couple hundred years ago, having Tourette's was a death sentence. You would get killed for that because people thought you were possessed by a demon or something.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's a little different. It's if you get pulled over by the police in the United States and you have a tic in front of the cop, who is like, these people are they are famous. They have a reputation for, you know, like I don't need to expand on that.
Yeah, no, you don't. So they think automatically, oh, he's on drugs, okay, or
Yeah, it's quite
withdrawing or something
scary.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, or they think I'm a threat because I'm making sudden movements. I'm going to
I
startle them,
see.
and
I
they're going to
see.
they might kill me because they think that I'm doing something to hurt them.
Exactly.
I was sitting at a restaurant I was with a friend the other day, and in America, in Denver, Colorado, 4 feet from me, across the aisle was a guy, and he had a gun at his hip, and he's just eating breakfast. And I'm thinking, if I startle this guy, am I going to be like that girl, that 20-year-old that tried to pull into a driveway to turn around?
Correct. Yeah.
And some old man's going to shoot me, you know? I go, oops. Say la
Well,
vie.
yeah, absolutely. I did not take that into consideration, that there is actually a very real threat potentially to your life. Bloody hell. So no firearms here in New Zealand. They are far more legislated and controlled.
Yeah.
So I think that is actually a positive thing.
Did New Zealand do that after Australia's 1997, the shooting in 7?
Yeah, the Tasmania shooting certainly led to a lot of soul searching in Australia. In New Zealand, certainly to the same degree. But no, for us, it was the Christchurch mosque shooting that really changed a lot there.
Forgot about that.
So, yeah. No, so a lot of things actually changed there because it is a beautiful sport. And there is when it comes to firearms here, there was never really the connotation of self-defense. We are just, we are far more interested in rugby and
yeah.
Okay.
You guys don't have predators. You don't have predators either in New Zealand.
No, that's right. No. Well, the biggest predator is your own stupidity when it comes to living here. Okay, so yes, that can kill you quite easily, but there's nothing nasty there. So yes, so it's a different story. Bloody hell. So Tourette's. Do you have a little sign on the car window? Careful, I've got Tourette's, or please don't shoot me.
It reminds me of the movie I'm sure you've seen Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, when he's in Joker, and he plays Joker. He has Tourette's in that movie. That's Tourette's. And yeah. And so I've thought about having something like that, because it can be so frustrating to tell people I have Tourette's, and they think it's a South Park joke. I'm making a joke. Oh, I have Tourette's too. In fact, I remember I told a woman that I had Tourette's, and at this point I had never met anybody else with Tourette's. So I was totally alone in this condition, and I felt alone. And this woman I didn't know, it was a friend of a friend, and I said, hello, and I said, oh, I'm sorry, I have Tourette's. And she goes, oh, I have Tourette's too. And I said, "Oh my God, really? Tell me about it. Tell me about it." She goes, "Oh no, I was just kidding."
Ugh. Ugh.
And when I was I was like, and I told her, I said straight, I was like, I was very direct. I was like, "That's not funny. That's like, it's just, I mean, it's not even, it's not funny anyway. Like even if it's separate, like if you emancipate it
Of
from
course.
the social faux pas, you still, it's not funny. It's stupid."
Oh God, can you get the other foot in your mouth as well?
Yeah.
Oh my, oh my. Okay. Well, since then, have you actually gone out to find other Tourette sufferers? Is there a club of Tourette sufferers, so to speak? Because it must be such a socially isolating disease if you let it do that.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. It can make you rather misanthropic
Hmm.
really quickly. You don't. You just you don't. You start to lose your affection for strangers. And
Oh.
I just I've just tried uh to honestly. I don't have an effective strategy really for
Oh.
dealing with because it's just so it's it is. Uh, I would argue that people are a lot more mindful even now than they were a couple of years ago.
Hmm.
COVID was really, I think, changed a lot of people's understanding of like what was going on with others. People became more attentive, I think,
Oh,
and
nice.
I think it was born from paranoia, of course,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
COVID, right? But it's still inspired, I think, generated some good in a sense.
Oh, that's interesting to hear that because there certainly amongst handicapped people there was sometimes the concern that my God, it's on the internet you never see anyone handicapped. Everyone has filters on. Everyone is always their best. And then when people open the door again, and my God, there is no filter. Oh my God, there is actually something wrong with your leg or with your face or whatever it is. So there was actually quite some real concerns there. So it's at least lovely to hear that you perceived a bit of a change to the better. And
Yeah,
that's nice. That's nice to hear.
restraint. I think I see restraint mostly.
Nice.
Yeah.
How about respect? How about decency? How about those kind of things that you really would like to see? If some of us it was to film me, I would love to take the bloody phone and ram it where the sun doesn't shine.
Yeah.
Do you get angry? Do you get angry when you see that?
The thing is, I've tried. Uh, you can't really bitterness in that sense is so, especially for someone with Tourette's, you're gonna be dealing with this every day, maybe several times a day, half a dozen, maybe a dozen times a day. So you might have really unpleasant interactions with people, um, and you have to be married to the notion of forgiveness and realizing that whatever anger you're experiencing is a product of like your ignorance about their situation in the same sense. So like you're just projecting what would be like your own deficiency for another condition onto them and like not giving them any kind of
Mm.
because a lot of people laugh and things like that because they're nervous. They don't know what else to
Exactly.
do.
Touche.
It's not
Touche.
malicious.
Yep. Oh, that's lovely that you can actually reframe it this way. And actually, I believe you're right. And it is people have their own insecurities. My goodness. Tell me anyone who is happy in their own skin. And then suddenly they are pushed a bit beyond their boundaries further and weird behavior comes out.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you were able to change something for other sufferers, or what would you tell other sufferers from Tourette's who maybe only have now come out? Let's say maybe an earlier onset, a teenager who has just started to develop that, and they might watch here and might be shit scared of what is happening to them. What would you tell that teenager?
I'm not sure I'd want to say anything at first. I just want to hug him because it's going.
Hmm.
it's hard. It's just because it's your brain is deformed. It's never going to be repaired.
Mm,
There is no medication that treats on label
mm,
that treats Tourette's. Not one that exists. There's not one. And the only treatment that is federally is FDA approved is deep brain stimulation, which I'm
mm.
sure you're familiar with. And so and that comes with its own, I mean, so many risks. I mean, oh my God, you're drilling a hole in your skull and you're gonna stick a rod in your brain, like way deep into your brain. So like, if that's not an instrument of yeah, so
You're right. For some people, it is a huge relief, and it's beautiful that
mhm.
in some parts of the world that can be offered. But number one, it's for sure not mainline therapy standard. Yeah, let's do that with everyone. And as you quite rightly say, all these things come with a price. Well, a real price. And if
Mhm.
you're in a country where you have to pay for your own healthcare, well, that's forget about that. But more
Yeah, I wouldn't be
importantly,
alive without Canada's healthcare.
wow. And that's so
Yeah.
lovely that you say that you actually that you have outlined in the preamble before we sort of started recording, that you shared your gratitude with the Canadian government and the Canadian system that allows you now to pursue still your passion of writing, your
Mhm.
passion of sharing your story, and therefore making the life better for other people out there who have got similar challenges to face.
It reminds me of something, what you just said, it reminds me of, which is something that I share with John Steinbeck. John Steinbeck's philosophy, who wrote, of course, you probably know, but Grapes of Wrath, East of Eden, he said that his whole mission as a writer is to help people understand one another. And that's exactly how I feel. I share in that completely. It's my whole life, and my work is further reflects that, because I don't try to uh, I don't design my work to feel later, to make you feel limited. Like, it's supposed to make you feel like you are using every part of your brain to understand this, and you write for the fifth time someone reads your work, is what I say, and because they will always have that information, so they will have time to understand it. So you write it in a way that respects them,
Uh-huh.
and respects their intellect, and respects human intellect at large, is celebrate it, truly celebrate it, and write like you mean to do that.
Oh, that's what a beautiful way of describing the writing process. I have never looked at it from that angle. It is a very powerful thing. How long did it take you to create your first book, to write your first book?
Well, the first draft was 162,000 something words. It took me two and
That's
a half.
that's some decent words, man.
It took me 2.5 months to do that, and
Okay.
then it took me more than a year to do the rewrite, which
Yeah, exactly. I hear you. I hear
yeah,
you.
yeah. So yeah, I think that anybody that's doing it right, that's the way it has to go, because you're not going to get it right the first time.
Oh, exactly.
And your understanding is going to grow, evolve, and your work, whatever you write needs to reflect that. Mhm.
Yeah. Which is beautiful. So it is, and I have felt like that. I was challenged. Someone told me, "Why don't you write a book about your journey?" And I thought, "Me, a book? Nah." And then I thought, actually, and I started writing, and I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. It just kept pouring out. And this is, do you feel that same compulsion as an author to sometimes just sometimes you don't know
I
what to.
It's how I feel. If a number of things that I use to describe my work is how I feel about my work is greatness is the birthright of obsession, and that's how I feel. That's something that I wrote. That's why I live by. Because as a writer, it truly is an obsession. I do other things to stop working. It's
Uh-huh.
because I love I Hemingway said, he said a number of really lovely things, but one of the things that he said is that every time that he sees a word, it's like he's seeing it for the first time. and I know what he means by that, and I'll explain it for the people that are listening. But imagine a woman who is a welder, and she has a welding business, okay? And she has a shop, she has a workshop, she has a house, she has a land where she does all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then she has a daughter and then a granddaughter. A granddaughter looks exactly like her, right? Wants to do the same job, live in the same house, and doing everything else just in perfect likeness to her grandmother, but she's still different.
Uh-huh.
Even though they are fundamentally in every conceivable way the same, they're still different. And that's how I feel about words. Every single time I use a word within a new sense, within a new structure, it becomes something new every time.
Beautiful. And of course, that power of generation, of creating something. It is a very creative process, isn't it? It can be a very frustrating process. No two ways around it. So is that what you want to do? Is that what you want to keep doing? As in
for the rest of my life, I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't do anything else. Writing means more to me. When I tell people about it, I say I love writing more than the sum of my love for all other things. And because it feels perfect. It feels like language. Words are the only thing that I think we've ever done that is truly virtuous. The only thing humans have ever invented that reflects a perfect goodness, which is we want to be understood and we want to understand other people. And that is, there is no greater, I don't know, for me, there's nothing greater to look for.
Which is beautiful. You could, of course, say that you've had a lot of challenges in your youth. Were you always escaping into stories? Was that a way of you being able to just remove yourself from your environment?
You know, the thing about writing, like with anything, with history, I'm sure you're a student of history. Whenever you are looking into history becomes a lot more exciting and engaging when you start to know how events are connected. Writing is so much the same intent. If you're a kid of a certain aptitude or intellect, whatever it is, you need to be sufficiently challenged. But you can't, if you don't have the evidence or the substance of experience to inform what you want to say, you won't be able to make profound connections that engage even you, that inspire even you. So that's what you need to look for. So writers, that's it. Yeah.
It's just beautiful. You have got certainly a way with words, brother. I mean, this is a very, very powerful gift that you have got there. And here you are. I mean, I can see you going out there and writing so much more. No two ways around it. Which direction do you want to take? Is the education about Tourettes and the education of with regards to the need for transformation and the opportunity of transformation? Is that something that you want to go down the route, or how do you see who is the Kristof in a year's time or in 2 years' time?
I think the most beautiful, the most romantic thing, other than language, is storytelling. And so, because storytelling is so much, but it is desperate. It is a cry for us to remember something worth remembering, because it came at great cost. That understanding came at great cost, and so we lie and we hyperbole and exaggerate because we want so badly for us to be able to defend ourselves against fascists, against and any other system that is born from the decay of institution of trust and decency and civility.
Yeah. And that is meaning that you want to write more story arcs that are bringing that home, and that you can actually share this passion.
I use epic fantasy as a vehicle to do that, because I feel, number one, Game of Thrones really opened that up. It really gave a lot of if you have the chops and you can write a story worth looking into, and you create characters worth getting to know, then you can do something extraordinary, because epic fantasy isn't so limited. It can be inspiring,
of course,
and it can be an escape, and also, but simultaneously, it's a Trojan horse kind of situation, because you can learn a great deal from it, but without even realizing. Everybody knows about the perseverance of Samwise Gamgee and Frodo Baggins. Like, these guys, everyone knows about the fact that it doesn't matter the size of your hero. And, there's so much more to our valor than that. And Tolkien revealed that in so many ways. But in terms of like actual literature, I wanted to marry the style of Dickens, who I felt is a much better study of human nature, and his poetry. I feel like his poetry is much better as a writer. His prose is obviously is much better. But of course, Tolkien is a much more charming storyteller, and I wanted to marry those two things, because I felt like epic fantasy is just so useful for getting everyone involved. Everyone can dream. No,
that's true. But then again, if you actually take Tolkien as an example, his writing was very much influenced by the First World War and the nasty business that he had to witness on the front. So therefore, again, here is a man who used writing as a very powerful tool to bring across lessons that he had seen, that he had witnessed, and put them into stories about good and evil, ultimately. And it is beautiful. It is a classic example where darkness created light, in the sense of the darkness that he witnessed led to these beautiful books that he wrote. And I guess
also funny. He also describes darkness as a kind of evil, as impotent, in a sense, when the fact that Frodo Baggins or Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit is so sort of eccentric and kind of just silly, I think is meant to. I don't know. I just really treasure that too.
Isn't it? But here you are, basically having tasted the bitterness and tasted the frustration and the darkness, and but here you are, you're starting to create different worlds that and messages that come through your heroes, and this is I can see how you will grow and how you will develop a fellowship, not of the ring, but a fellowship of people who will follow you and who wants to know more about your books.
That's very kind of you.
Oh, absolutely, and it's beautiful. You have got a beautiful way with words that I can only be jealous and envious for, because I as a German speaking English, inevitably you've got some.
You're never gonna catch up.
Oh God, no.
Catch up.
No. So therefore, I have to say, okay, I'll have to leave that to people like you. That's right. Correct. You know, it is what it is. You're an amazing man, Kristof. You're an amazing man. Thank you so much for going out there and sharing your story, for demystifying Tourette's, for going out there to open up honestly about it, and allowing others to see the truth and to expand their horizon, and maybe in turn avoid making a fool out of them and making other Tourette sufferer feel bad. So no, wow, that takes a lot, man. And I take my hat off here. Well done. Thank you for trying to make this world a better place. Definitely. Look, if people want to know more about your books and more about you, where can they find you?
Well, if you Google Kristof Morrow, that's a very reliable way of finding every kind of social media I have. I went viral on TikTok in June, so I have about 5,000 followers there ish. And I post some stuff there. A lot of the stuff so if you go to Amazon and any other bookstore front, you can put in my book, The Second Son, or put in my name, Kristof Morrow, and that's how you'll find it.
Beautiful. Guys, look down there into the description of the YouTube video and of the podcast, because we've got all of Kristof's links down there. Kristof is quite unique spelling, Kristof. So it's actually, there are not too many spellings I've seen like that. So it's actually quite easy for you to be found. And that's actually really beautiful, isn't it? So there was...
I picked the name. I made it up, I made it up for this, but it is my name now. I've adopted it as my name.
Excellent. Oh, wonderful. Kristof, thank you so much for being a guest on my show. Thank you for your amazing and inspiring journey, man. I can't wait to see how you're developing, how you're growing as an author, and how you will make this world a better place, because that's your destiny, man. There is no doubt about that. Cool.
Thank you. Well, you have a great day, and
Absolutely.
Stay high in New Zealand for me.
We shall.
Everybody on State Highway too.
Oh, it's true. Okay.
I do. I have a friend that lives in New Zealand on State Highway too. I do. Yeah.
This is a small world. That's the fact, isn't it? Cool. Yeah, right. And you look after yourself. And you guys out there, live with passion and don't let anything stop you. Bye.
I'm just following your example. Bye.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.